Welcome. I'm Andy Huddleston with Wyatt Insurance, and we're here today with Seth Kehne, the owner and the founder of the Lawn Butler. We're supposed to be outside, but it's been raining, and
Welcome to my world.
well, tell us a little bit about your world.
Yeah, so things change, with the weather.
Tell us first. Tell us about the loud trucks that we see all around town.
The loud, so hopefully you're talking about their color.
Yes.
Okay, and not, we talked to our mechanic.
Not the mufflers.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, so we like to talk about them as the ugliest, best looking trucks you'll see on there. And so the bright, obnoxious yellow, which still looks good, is by design so that you'll see them by 50, 100 feet, a mile away on there. So they stick out like a sore thumb.
That's the Lawn Butler truck.
And you'll know that's the Lawn Butler truck. And hopefully you'll see them parked out where we're doing work and you'll say, oh, that's nice work. Yeah, those guys, they know what they're doing.
How did you come up with the yellow?
By luck. So it's actually our first truck that we bought to replace my station wagon was getting ready to go in the paint booth because it was white and it needed to be repainted. And I went in and was looking at colors and I said, that one looks different. I don't have any. I've never seen one like that, and that's what it was. Yeah, and I think at that time I wasn't really planning on it to be a career, so we kind of I said this one will stick out, and then so it was one of our. If I've made a couple good choices, that would be one of them.
Let's rewind a little bit, Seth. Tell us about your past, your childhood, where you grew up, and how you got to be running this company.
All right. Well, by accident. So I was a Knoxville native and went to Rocky Hill and then Beard Middle and Bearden High School. And my senior year of high school, I thought I could earn some extra money and maybe be able to pay for a date with my girlfriend. And so I decided to start a little mowing business. I had worked the previous year with one of my best buddies for his friend's dad, and we drove around, probably violated a bunch of safety standards and cut grass and had fun. It was a lot of fun, and so I had always been a saver. So excuse me. So I saved up. I had saved up a little bit of money and bought a mower behind my in a trailer to put behind my 1983 Chevrolet Station Wagon. So it was one of the few station wagons that pulled a mower in town, a commercial mower. And
was it the wood? Did it have the wood on the side?
We weren't that classy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
The Kehnes, we live frugally. So, I purchased the mower and went out and got 10 or 15 yards to cut every week, and then my senior year, and then worked for the company during the summer the other 3 days a week and 3 or 4.
Did you at that point in time? Did you come up with a name? Did you go door to door? How did you find 15 yards?
Came flyers.
Okay.
So you drive around, and I remember the first year we would put prices on it, and I would usually do that at night, and so a lot of it was guesstimates and
kind of looking at their yard
yeah.
and saying.
So we did that and had enough just for myself for the first year, and then that fall went off to college, and the next year I had enough work to hire my best buddy, and so he joined me, and then. It continued to grow and grow. We had a business where residential and the homeowner could look at it and look at us and say, I could either let those guys mow my yard and take care of my place, or some guy that looks a little sketchy, but I'd let these guys date my daughter. So I'm going to let them take care of it. So we had all the business we wanted, and we just had an army of college guys that came in every day. And
so you were running it
places.
in college, taking classes.
Yeah. I didn't
organizing who's going where,
and doing the work. And I didn't expect to make a career out of it until maybe towards the end of college. So
okay.
I was a finance major and liked numbers and thought I would do banking or investments or something like that. And that always fascinated me, the business aspect of it. And then we had a pretty good thing, and I really enjoyed what I did. And so I married my wife after my 5th year of college, and I still really enjoyed it. And so we decided that we'd keep going with it as long as it was fun. And so we had a pretty good business going and still enjoyed it. And I always said as long as it's 3.5 days a week, then I enjoyed it, then I would keep going. So there's been some years where it's been less, and most years it's been more. Yeah.
When did the idea for the Lawn Butler materialize? The name and the real business and
the name was the first year, and
okay.
I think I stole it. I think I saw somebody else somewhere else that, to be honest. But There aren't any large companies that have Lawn Butler in the nation that I can see they're older than us now. So there's
So now they'd be stealing it from you.
yes. So that when I looked at like trademarking it, even though we didn't come up with it, I don't think we did. That's from my memory.
Okay.
I think I found it on the internet, but I don't know how much I was on the internet in 1999. But anyway,
Okay.
so that's how we came up with the name.
So yeah, I see 1999, so coming up on 20 years. So
Yeah.
what now? You've got 70 employees, a whole lot of trucks, a whole lot of equipment. What do you attribute some of that growth to that kind of differentiated yourself from some of the other folks in town?
So I guess a lot of different things. The first item would be, I was talking about this actually this last year. I've talked about it a little bit, but the first 7 or 8 or 10 years was mostly about my hard work and just was really head down, all the money back in the business. And then I was probably our biggest problem sometime around our 10th to 13th year where I got in our way the most. And so everything
Like slowed you down?
yeah,
or-
well, just micromanaged and everything comes through me. And then, and so in our growth path, and then somewhere around our 13th year, when I got out of the way, is when we really took off. So it goes from being one of the best, you're one of the best parts of the company to I was one of the worst. And then now I have very little to do with our success because I've gotten out of the way and our team members our management guys have really, really just taken off. And
So that leads in. Tell me a little bit about the Lawn Butler's culture. And obviously, you've hired people. You've given them responsibility to kind of run with whatever their kind of task is. So what does the culture at the Lawn Butler look like?
So culture is a really big deal for us. One thing that we want our employees from when they join us to when they leave, whenever that is, to be better people. So that means, personally better, that we'll work with them if they're having issues, and then just that they're continue to be trained and educated, and that they feel valued and have confidence. So one of our big things is to make sure it doesn't matter who the person, what position it is, the top or the bottom, that they're a better person when they leave. 9 out of 11 guys in our management team have come from the ground up.
Oh, like homegrown. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
neat.
So those have been. They started with a weed eater, or a shovel, or so they started from the bottom. So that's where we've got a lot of guys. We try to really hire within, that we're putting into our guys and investing in them, that they can have the ability to move up.
Take a minute, talk about the culture at Lawn Butler from the Instagram account. It looks like you guys have a fun work environment, that people have worked there a long time, things like that. But what's it really like to be there?
Well, it's not always perfect, but it's not from lack of trying. So our culture is one of our most important things for our company. We really put a lot of effort into it. We want our team members to know that they're appreciated, because it's hard work. It's hard work being outside. It's hard work serving people. It's hard work when weather gets in the way, and there's a lot of equipment, and there's a lot of things that can make their jobs tough. And so we really try to make our culture and our company a place where people have the freedom to do their job, do it well, and be appreciated. And so we try to treat people fair and respect them, and walk with them when they're going through difficult times, and really just have a culture of appreciation and fun.
So some of that leads into what looks like the lawn mower races and the dart game. Tell us about the dart game you were talking about off camera.
So last week we had a dart game for our team members that had really good attendance for the spring. We call that the 100 days of hard work. We use a different name on there, but so it's hard. Those guys are out really. It's a hard job. It's rewarding, but it takes a lot of work, and so they came in one morning and threw darts, and whatever they landed on, they got that much in cash. And so just as appreciation for them putting in the hours, and when it rains and they're working later, and
Any bullseyes?
no bullseyes, good for me, bad for them, but it's just things like that, just to let the guys know that they're appreciated, and we're thankful for them being on our team.
Well, and next time you do bring in a snowball truck, you need to, let the community
Let them know.
a little
Yeah,
bit
absolutely.
early, especially if you're picking up the tab.
Yeah.
So
When those New Orleans snowballs are good.
I know,
it's really good.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we've talked a lot about getting started with just a handful of guys and mowing yards and doing lawn maintenance. How did you go from that to doing some of the stuff like we see here, hardscapes and more complicated projects?
So after I decided that this was going to be a career and the company was going to be more all-inclusive, that was a natural progression. A lot of it was trial and error. The first irrigation system we did, we charged $6,000. It was probably worth about 12 and cost us 18,000. So we did it not the best and not the most efficient, and then by the end it was a great system, and we still service it today, and I think that was like 10, 12 years ago, and we don't have any issues out of it. But we did it, and we went through it and the hard way to make it right, and by golly, we weren't going to do that again.
So how do you stay on top of what's the next kind of
Cutting edge.
yeah,
Yeah.
in without, you know, no pun intended, right? But how do you stay on top of what's coming out and stay in, like, from my perspective, watching you grow, one of the things that I thought you did that not other people were doing was like your mulch truck, things like that.
Yeah, so well, I've always been an equipment junkie, so we have a large mulch blower truck that you might see around town, and with an individual in a tuxedo blowing mulch on the side. But so we've always, and we try to utilize technology. We have a really great leading edge software that runs our system, that everything's cloud-based in real time, so we know, you know, every single bit of service we've ever done for any customer, and all our notes are in there, material and everything, so we can always see if we're able to quickly catch if something doesn't meet what it's supposed to be. So if we go through and there's a lot less time, then hey, maybe, you know, something happened, and also it helps us to be able to accurately charge to customers.
And estimate.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a really good base with a lot of data to know what our costs are, and that's in our industry. That's really tough to do, and that's pricing can be all over the map. But
how is, in your almost 20-year career now, how would you say coaching, mentors, networking kind of groups, how have those helped you, or have you utilized any of those at all?
Yeah, so about 5 years ago, it actually took a peer group of other landscape industry owners, and we're across the nation, and so there's a group of about 10 or 11 of us that get together twice a year. And there's usually 2 or 3 times a week I'm either on a phone call or going back and forth on email about some type of issue that we might be having or they might be having. So that's been really great because it's a resource, and there's a consultant we use that runs it, who has a lot of experience. He's probably been to 200-300 landscape companies. So, you know, I tell people we've done or developed or implemented probably 3 really good ideas on our own, and then we've stolen the other 100 that we have from other people, and implemented it. So there's really as little as reinventing the wheels you can do as little as possible. And there's so many people have so many great ideas that you can either take exactly what it is or adjust to what fits your model. And so with doing that with those relationships, it's open book, and it really just, you're happy to help each other, and it really helps you out on making best practices and how we can serve people better. Mentorship is really big. My first mentor is my dad, and he was a leader in his company. He was the president of a mutual company, an insurance company, and he was, from the outside, it seemed like he was respected by all his team members. So he really taught me about fairness, respecting and treating your team well, and also having good boundaries, which is hard to do all of those. And so my dad mentored me. I didn't know it at the time because a lot of the times I didn't know the skills that he was implementing into me that I picked up later in life on about how to treat your team and how to lead your team. But through that, I've been involved in some other younger landscapers, and it's after you've been mentored, it's really easy, and you can find a lot of value on mentoring others, and you can actually learn. Even when you're mentoring somebody, you can learn from it as well.
So I know you're different also than just our culture now of got to have it now, and you're more, it seems like, okay with delayed gratification. And what I'm talking about mostly is you don't take on lots of debt. and you never have really. So talk about that. Was that something you intended from the very beginning? Was that something that you grew into? Was that something that someone told you to do? Because that's very different than a lot of business owners. You know, how did that come about?
Yeah, so that we're a little weird, but our team has bought in on it, and so I grew up in. We didn't talk about it a whole lot, but you kind of just grew up in a household. I could buy it when I had the money, and so my parents were pretty big believers in that, and that's kind of how we ran the company, and it just was kind of a natural way of doing it. One of the things is I always said when my wife Katie and I just decided to do it as a career, I always said that if it's not something I enjoyed, that I'd be able to leave at any time. So if it's not something that brought me fulfillment, and so we ran it as a debt-free company, and so because of that, it's easier to continue on doing that. So it can be pretty frustrating when you're trying to keep up with the growth that you have.
You got to be patient.
And being patient,
right?
your team members can get a little frustrated. My management guys can get very frustrated about when they need to buy another couple trucks that they have to wait, and so that it can be. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it's been wonderful for us, and it's part of our. One of the big selling points for our team is our team members find a lot of value in that, and so they know that our company's financially strong, and you know the reason that we're here is not for instant gratification. It's not to get me a big beach house somewhere, but the reason that we're doing it is for financial stability, that we have long-term growth in mind. So our employees, especially some that have maybe come from a company that they weren't sure if their paycheck was coming on a Friday. A lot of them find a lot of value in just knowing that their job is secure on there. So that if a customer check bounces, or that those guys are still going to be okay, and they're still going to be able to provide for their family.
There's something that we get every year at Wyatt Insurance, and other people around town get these too. There's the famous Lawn Butler Christmas card. Mm-hmm. So that's an ongoing thing now. How did it get started?
My first year, I had demoed a mower and took a picture with myself and my good buddy Corey, and was proud of that.
Do you have a full sleeve or?
No, yeah, no tanks. Okay. So it was my T-shirt, and so we took a picture with it, and then later I was like, hey, I'll send this out as a Christmas card, because I thought Christmas cards are great, and then. We have done that all but maybe our third year, and then it just one year we dressed up in tuxedos and we went out and took pictures of it, and then I sent that, and that's when we really got a lot of traction with it, and then so now it's a snapshot of every November, December, depending on how on the ball we are that year, of Christmas cards. You can find it on our website, so it's pretty neat. So there's I think 18 Christmas cards, which kind of shows our lineage of growth and people on there. So we didn't intend for it for that, but now it's a really neat snapshot of our growth and over time.
And you can find that on Lawn Butler.
Our website, yeah.
What's the website?
LawnButler.com on there, and then you can find it in About Us on there.
As we're closing down in our time, I'm curious to know the story behind the Lawn Butler, that is your rolling billboard on the mulch truck. How did that come about?
So we have a large truck that we blow mulch out of, and so it has a 30-foot long box on it, which is a big running billboard. And so we had what originally came with the factory, and we thought we needed to update it. So we said, hey, let's put a guy in a tuxedo for Butler on there. Let's put it on the side. And so we were talking, and I was like, I don't want to be on the side of it personally. We don't need the company just to be about me. And so I was talking to my wife, and she said, we both were talking about who's masculine but somewhat easy on the eyes. And so we said, Ben Kolbush, who happens to be your brother-in-law.
Happens to be my brother-in-law.
And that was one of my greater achievements, to put him on the side of the truck, and I think one of his greatest regrets, all at the same time. So it's a really good package.
Seth, thanks for joining us today and giving us kind of your history and your journey. And thank you guys for watching. And stay tuned, we'll have some more of these coming in the future.